Well, it looks like a quasi-segregation is back. I mean, increasingly, that's kind of what it feels like. Violations of bodily autonomy, all thanks to private companies, federal government, everybody appears to be cheering it on. We've lost a lot of liberties in this pandemic, have we not? My friend Harmeet Dhillon is the CEO of the Center for American Liberty and the founder of the Dhillon Law Group. She joins me now to talk about this incredibly troubling development. It's so good to see you. Welcome to the program. I feel that we have lost quite a bit of individual liberty from just with the lockdowns, from this pandemic. I still see the case being made. I even see people that I once thought of as kind of conservative allies now coming around to mandates on injections, on vaccines. I wanted to get your thoughts on this and also where you think that we are in terms of being able to maybe claw some of this stuff back.
Well, Dana, thanks for having me. This is really a dark day for civil rights in our country, and it started at the beginning of that 2 weeks to flatten the curve time. But even before that, I think, to be frank, conservatives have been complacent about civil rights issues. We have become a party that worships corporations and not civil rights, okay? And so now, and I'll get to this, but the administration is using not just government power, but corporate power to impose massive civil liberties violations on us. So when these lockdowns started, the first challenges were challenges to religious liberties issues, and I brought several of those challenges in federal courts around the country. And the initial reaction of all these judges when we went and challenged the lockdowns of churches and other houses of worship was, there's this 1905 case from the Supreme Court called Jacobson versus Massachusetts, which said that during a smallpox epidemic, it was legal for the government to fine a man who did not want to get vaccinated against smallpox because he had already been sick with smallpox and he survived. He had natural immunity. But what's important is the ruling was not that the government could forcibly vaccinate him, but that they could fine him. Now, you may think, okay, well, that's a long time ago. Surely they're not applying that rule. But that is the rule in that case that the courts used for most of the last year and a half to reject civil liberties challenges. But that same case has been used in so many bad ways in our country's history. It's been used to sterilize low IQ people to prevent them from having children, which is today considered to be a horrible violation of privacy and equal protection. But that's how dangerous these types of precedents can be. We finally began to turn the tide after we got a couple of new justices on the Supreme Court, and some of the cases that I lost in the Court of Appeals and in the appeals and the district courts, we won at the Ninth Circuit at the Supreme Court earlier this year. But we lost a lot more cases than we won, Dana. And today, what we're seeing with these vaccines is that the government is using its power over corporations to force these on citizens. So I try to explain to people why we have these vaccine mandates and why our corporations ganging up on their longtime loyal employees. And the reason is liability. The government has imposed workers' comp liability as well as occupational safety liability on employers. And so employers are liable if anybody gets sick with COVID, whether they got it in the office or not, they're holding the bag. That's why employers are doing what they're doing. And we the citizens are left with few choices. So it is a very bad situation. And I think, frankly, we're not going to get recourse from the courts. The only way we're going to see changes to this is through the political process. In other words, no time soon.
And I think, Harmeet, you answered a super important question as to why so many employers are choosing to do this. And of course, when you have the government that's dictating how workers' comp is going to be applicable in this situation, then yeah, they really are leaning on these companies and these corporations to do it, because they can't just really go, the Biden administration can't go out and say, oh, well, we're going to demand that you get this vaccine. But these corporations, by acting as agents of the administration, it pretty much, it's the same thing. I wanted